Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signal to West podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. I'm also a real estate agent for the past 30 plus years. And my intention today is to bring a little bit of attention to a neighborhood, in my opinion, not getting enough of, and that is Cathedral City Cove. So I invited three guests to our here now, and one will join us in a minute to tell us why they invested in the Cove or what's it been like living in the Cove. So let's say hi to Keith Coleman and Javiera Pepe. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome.
thank you.
So you guys did not meet before. This is your first time meeting, and you probably are neighbors. I'm not sure where you all exactly where you live, but we don't want to give your address away. So, Keith, I want to start with you because you've been there the longest. You moved to the Cove in 1985.
That's correct.
What was the Cove like then?
It wasn't a lot different, actually. Except for the streets and the fact that we had no sewers, the cove looked pretty much the same. We've had a lot of new houses being built, but nevertheless, the streets are the same. The mountains are the same. The cove is pretty much the same, except for the new residents.
Where did you move from, and what made you I want to live here as opposed to anywhere else in the Coachella Valley?
Well, I was in San Francisco and I got a job transfer to Los Angeles. And of course, after about a year, I thought, this is not the place for me. And I discovered Palm Springs and I started coming out here on weekends, like a lot of people. And so in 1985 is when I bought my house, the only house I've ever owned. And I'm a full-time resident and I love it here.
But, I was just saying to you guys earlier before we started, I used to come in 85 as well all the time, like you did from LA. And everybody's so hyper focused on Palm Springs. And just to give everybody an idea, the listeners and the viewers, geographic wise, what are we talking about here? So the world thinks the Coachella Valley is Palm Springs, which is not really true. Palm Springs is a city in the Coachella Valley. And Cathedral
Yes.
City Cove is about 15 minutes from downtown Palm Springs. So
Yes.
when you were coming from LA visiting, like I was, I never really went beyond Palm Springs. I mean, I thought Palm Desert was, another country. So I never, you come to Palm Springs for the weekend, you come on a Thursday, you live on a Sunday, and you do your thing, and you just don't go beyond the certain city limits. So how did you end up in the Cove and out of all the cities? Because back then, to be honest, I had a restaurant down the hill in '88, and that was before the city hall was there and all that. And I remember the city was just pretty much nothing going on, especially in the summer.
Yes.
So what made you say, this is going to be home for me and retire here?
Uh, well, I wasn't retired when I moved here. I worked for an airline as a flight attendant, and I worked out of Los Angeles and San Francisco. So I was able to live here and fly off to work for a few days and then come home. So that lasted for the first probably almost 30 years. And then I retired early and I've been here ever since. And I absolutely love the area. I just think it's the most hidden community that people are now becoming more aware of. But at the time, when in 1985, I thought Cathedral City. I knew Cathedral City. I'd been there here, and I'd been to several establishments in Cathedral City, but I didn't really know about the Cove specifically. I didn't know it even existed.
Right. So most people don't either. And that's why I'm trying to find out what made you when you came. I mean, again, the popularity of Palm Springs existed then as well. Everybody wanted to
Yes.
be in Palm Springs, it's where the action is. But you said, no, I'm gonna be 15 minutes away in this really lovely up the hill community. So what was the attraction? What was the thing that you said to your realtor, I want to live here?
Um, the attraction was the serenity, the fact that Palm Springs, although in those days it wasn't as crazy as it is now, I just, once you get off Highway 111 and head up the hill, you realize that you're in a very special place.
Right.
It's unlike Palm Springs, which is can be quite busy, especially in the winter. And I wanted to avoid all that madness. And that's what attracted me most to living here is I just enjoy the peace and quiet. I know my neighbors, many of them have lived here longer than I have. Things are changing, but pretty much the same as when I moved here. I just thought the beauty of the Cove was unparalleled, and that's the main reason that I was attracted. I also met someone that became my future husband and late husband, and he really wanted to live up in the Cove, and he's the one that brought me here and said, look at this house. And I said, well, the house is okay, but I don't know about this location, even though it's beautiful and quiet. It's not Palm Springs, doesn't have the ring to it. You're right, the downtown area was very distressed. And unfortunately, they decided to tear it down in the late 80s. Early 90s, I think it was, it was it had a lot of potential, but they decided to start all over and scrap the entire downtown area of the city. And unfortunately, with the economy being bad in those days, after they tore everything out, it sat empty. The lots sat empty in downtown for years, and we looked at nothing but dust. So it was very frustrating. There was no downtown. Now we have a beautiful downtown.
When was that? Because I left before that happened, and I came back
Yeah.
after it happened. So when was that dust and demolition period?
I was going to say the late 80s, but I can't remember exactly what year. I went to England for a short time in 91, so I know it had to be before that. And when I returned from England after I did spend a year in England, I was surprised that still nothing had been done. And then slowly the city hall was built, early 90s, I believe. And from there, it's what it is today, and it's still growing and changing.
Right.
And I'm happy with that new development.
So let me switch to Javiera Pepe for a minute. You purchased your home in 2019, correct? We can't hear you. You're muted.
I think she's muted.
Hi, thank you. My name is Javiera Pepe. Yes, we bought our home here in the beautiful Cove in 2019. We just love this valley, love the area. We were very much actually initially attracted, to Palm Springs. But honestly, it came down to, for us, it came down to to price point. And it just made more sense for us to just be, in the outskirts, like you said, 15 minutes from, downtown Palm Springs. You've got this little oasis, this gem that not too many people actually know about, but it's so close and so central to, really why people actually come to Palm Springs. So just a little bit further, for us, we could just get so much more value for our money. And that's actually why we purchased here. And the Cove is such a lovely, peaceful community. We're right at the base of the mountains, and we're here for lifestyle. We bike. My husband and I were big outdoors people. We love hiking and biking. So many beautiful trails to go on. And then at night, all the amazing restaurants and really nice, nightlife out here. So,
But
so we bought.
You're a different kind of ownership. You buy your home for investment. Tell us about that, and why did you decide to do that type of investment versus the popular Palm Springs type of
Yes. Yeah, so Palm Springs, we did actually look in Palm Springs, and we were actually looking for something that was going to be substantially bigger too, and to get a little bit more bang for our buck. We moved, we decided to start looking in the outskirts, when we really couldn't find what we were looking for in Palm Springs for our budget. So this, people don't know, but the Cove, you really do get a good value for your money. Just a little, just a little bit in the outskirts of Palm Springs. So that's really what attracted us here, was that our home
So was the value and the
was the value.
And you're doing,
Yes.
if you don't mind say, you're doing an Airbnb.
Right. We do Airbnb. So now short-term vacation rentals are no longer allowed here in the Cove.
Correct.
So everything's moved to, 30 days or more. So that's kind of where we're at.
Right.
And that really changes the dynamic of, the rental situation, with the home.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, it was a big disappointment because, Airbnbs are just so hot, in Palm Springs and the outskirts. So it was going really well for us, since 2019, even, we had to stop during COVID. But after that, it had been going great. And just this last February, it shifted from short-term vacation rental to long-term rentals. So now they have, our rentals have to be 30 days or more. So that's the rental's been a little bit more difficult with that ordinance in place.
And where do you see your future as an investor in the Cove now that things have changed? Where do you see your future going and your investment, and how do you want to play that out?
So I think that I have to be creative, a creative marketer, and go outside of the box. I think that, the traditional platforms are still a good place to have it, the Vrbo and the Airbnb and HomeAway. But I think that, we need to get a little bit more creative with reaching out to real estate agents also that have people that contact them for longer vacation rentals, or, month stays, people that come from other states that want to, rent the properties for longer than just a short-term vacation rental. Also different agencies that do rentals for homes for, something like B-list celebrities and, people that want to get away and not necessarily be like in the Palm Springs area or be close. But this home we actually bought it's a very nice size, and it's a great entertainment house, right? So somebody that's looking for that type of like entertainment home, this would be a great fit. So anyways, getting in contact with different agencies that provide those those kind of homes for different people is what we're aiming to do.
And you're okay with the longer period approach?
Yeah,
versus
absolutely.
2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights a week and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would say there hasn't been much of, I don't want to say too much of an impact. You wouldn't say that it changed your investment long-term outlook drastically?
I think so far it has, because we haven't really put into the new modalities into play, but I think that once we do, we should return back to, about our 80% booking. We were very, very booked up with the short-term vacation rental. Obviously the platform with Airbnb, people wanting to come in, just for a week or sometimes 2 weeks or, just several days.
Right.
It was a 3-day minimum. It wasn't a problem,
Right.
but, not as many people are looking to do, 30-day rentals or more. So it has changed it, because we're not booked up right now. But again, we really haven't looked into the other platforms, which is what I'm going to start, looking into. So it definitely has been a loss of revenue. And we've got to figure it out to, like I said, so we can get it back up and rented, the way it was being rented before.
And how much time do you spend when it's not rented on the average in the Cove to get to experience the culture and the city and all it has to offer? Would you say since 2018?
I'd say definitely like, a week, 10 days at minimum. Okay. So much to do, in the area. People, aren't really familiar with like all the museums that, that people can go to, in this area that are just wonderful, for families to come and to visit, and so many, beautiful parks and
Right.
hiking trails that they can do and waterfalls that they can go to. So definitely, I'd say, 7 to 10 days and beyond that for sure.
I was just saying earlier, Keith, and you can, I know you've been here the longest, certainly full time. Even the news station that we have here, it's called Palm Springs Channel 3, which to me, they don't give just the news for Palm Springs, they give the news for the entire Coachella Valley. And then they're not even located in Palm Springs, but yet the name of the news is Palm Springs News. So I think, it's to start with that, it would do us all a service, or the from the outside looking in, that there is more to the Coachella Valley than just Palm Springs. And we just, what do you think we need to do to maybe you don't want to tell the world about the Cove and what it has to offer, but really, in my opinion, it's a very special place. Even when I drive by to show houses, when I even drive by to look around, there's a certain feel to it that you don't get maybe perhaps in the north end of Cat City. What are your thoughts on that? And have anybody talked about maybe incorporated that into its own, gated perhaps HOA thing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just this area here, outside of Palm Springs, just has so much to offer. And I really think just bringing attention to that, right? And maybe what you're doing, I think, is excellent. Just having us homeowners like on your show to talk about our favorite parts of Cathedral City. I think it would be fantastic as well, just to have some more community fairs, to even to just bring more people to the area, and so they could see like what is out there, like what restaurants, what vendors, even like parks and recreation, so people can really become aware of that, right?
It's awareness. I mean, I like I said earlier, we're all hyper focused, which again, nothing against Palm Springs, but we're all hyper focused. The media, the culture, it's a ps.com world, as opposed to, the tennis tournaments are Indian West, Indian Wells, and there's another world just beyond. And I think it doesn't do us as a whole of a good service not to embrace that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what I'm trying to do. So Keith, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm very different in my thoughts. I
That's
was
a
on
good
the
thing.
committee. Yeah, I was on the committee to ban short-term rentals. I feel that as a longtime resident, I've gotten to know my neighbors, and I didn't want to see the Cove turning into a hotel market. And so I was very much against it. And I'm very glad that that passed overwhelmingly. And we now have a ban on those type of short-term visitors, I call them. I have met some of them, and they're very nice people. But unfortunately, they're not the neighbors I would count on in an emergency. So as far as investment goes, yeah, I mean, it is a good investment. Yeah, it's been almost 40 years I've been in this house. I only paid 100,000 40 years ago.
Stop.
Yeah, that's about the average price up here in the
I
Cove.
know.
The main
now.
thing,
I know.
the main reason for that is the Cove was very ugly in those days. The streets and the lack of sewers. We were kind of like a third world country. And so it wasn't always like this. I said, it looks the same, but it does. However, we didn't have the infrastructure up here. And so it took a long time. I'm trying to remember when the sewers went in, probably early, let's see, they had to be early 2000s, sometime at that, around that time. And the streets were all dug up. We had basically dirt streets with potholes before that. Everything was dug up, and my septic tank would overflow constantly, as did my neighbors. So it was horrible for the environment. And the state actually mandated that the Cove be on sewers. So that's when the changes happened as far as the streets go. Unfortunately, they didn't bury any of the power lines because the residents here, the homeowners insisted that they didn't want to pay the extra cost of having the lines buried. So we have an assessment in the Cove for the sewers and the streets. When we have very nice new streets, unfortunately, some of them are getting a little overused and overtaxed. So the city needs to pay a little attention to that now.
But with all fairness, North Palm Springs, if you remember back in the day, no one can dare, it's the windy side, when the airport was built,
there was nothing there.
It was the same conversation, and nobody would dare to invest in the North End of Palm Springs, and now it's a different story. So
absolutely,
it's fair to say that the Cove had its share of evolution process, and now, and people like you that were able to invest back then at $100,000.
Yeah, well, I'm not going anywhere. So as far as an
Right.
investment, it means little to me. I'm not trying to rake in any cash.
Right. But it's still,
This is my home, and
Right.
I don't believe in sharing it with other people.
So have you thought
It's
about,
just-
have the neighbors, like my question earlier, have anybody thought about incorporated the Cove into its own little community, or perhaps maybe
No.
into an HOA, or that's not something you want to do?
Absolutely not. No, HOA is what I think most of us moved here to avoid.
Okay.
We don't want that kind of strict rules, and just the whole concept of HOA just
It's not going to be a
sounds
good idea.
horrible to me.
Right.
I don't want to live in a walled community. What's nice about the Cove now is it's very open and free, and you can walk on those trails.
Right.
And it's not as well known as you'd think, although we do get a lot of people on bicycles, and it's in some of the guidebooks now to do hiking in the Cove. I don't encourage it though, because it's my home. So and right now they're planning to build hundreds of houses in the wash right up against the mountain.
400 and is it 406? I forget the number. I just talked about that the other day. Is it
Yeah, I
406?
can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very much against that as well. And I'm not just a NIMBY. I don't want it, in my backyard, but I care about the environment around me, and I think it's going to change the more homes that are built. There are plenty of empty lots right now that if someone really wants to live up here, they can buy. And
So are you against the multi
family
multi-family building, because that will just cause more traffic, more
congestion? Yes.
Okay.
This project that they're proposing, it's at the lower end of the Cove in
Yes.
the wash, and they
Yes.
claim that it wouldn't be seen by those of us that are further up, but I don't believe it. I was told, God, now how many years? It was back in the 80s when they proposed the Ritz-Carlton.
Right.
They told us, they lied to us and said that, well, the homes that are being built around the Ritz-Carlton would not be able to be seen from anywhere in Cathedral City, which is a lie, because you can see them very plainly. They really raped that hillside to put homes on it, and it's looking more and more like LA, unfortunately. So I tend not to look that direction. I look the other way, where it's nice and pristine and beautiful. And that's the side that they want to build on. There have been many proposals over the years, and I fought against every one of them, to build something in that wash, homes. At one time, they wanted to build a Christian Disneyland, Glory to God Ministries, which is now in another building.
Correct.
But they wanted to make an amusement park for Christians. And many of my neighbors were on board with fighting against that, because we thought, that's going to change the whole dynamic, the whole atmosphere of living up here.
Right.
So I've been very active over the years, and keep preserving what we have. Yes, I'm for progress. I definitely am. I'm glad to see downtown changing, but I don't want to see it change too much to the point that we are becoming like Palm Springs, and crowded, and a huge tourist industry. It never has been that way in Cathedral City. Tourists don't generally come to Cathedral City.
How do you
This is a working class area.
how do you feel about the new, and that's for the two of you, by the way, so jump in, the new development coming up on the Palm? It looks nice on print. It's really, you know, the shopping center.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, no, we're long overdue for that.
So
Absolutely.
tell me the difference between that and what that's going to bring and what that's going to, you know, add as opposed to
Right.
housing.
Well, that's an empty lot, a huge parcel of land, and
Right.
just like the casino across the street was a huge parcel of empty land, and so that's an ideal place for it. It's on the major highway, and it will be very convenient for those of us in the Cove that need services and don't want to drive to Palm Springs or Rancho Mirage. So I think it's way overdue. The only thing lacking in the Cove right now is a supermarket, but that all can be built down below. There's plenty of room,
Right.
and the animal habitats are not as fragile as they are up here. We have bobcats and coyotes and lizards and snakes and tortoises.
Yep.
And you won't find that on Highway 111. That's the difference.
Right. So have you just to make sure that you're aware of what we're talking about, the new shopping center?
Yes.
Okay. And that's going to when is that taking place? When is that starting? Keith, do you know?
Next year, supposedly after the first of the year.
It will start next year.
Yeah. It's taking a while. They just submitted the plans to the city and they've approved them. So right now they're just waiting for funding and they're going to go ahead with it. But I've heard a million times over the years something would be built and then they backed out.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. But it would be a good addition. I think it would be a very good addition to the city.
Absolutely, absolutely. On this end of town, for sure.
So that's for both of you, and we're gonna end it at this note. What's your favorite place to go to as far as eating, restaurant wise?
Restaurant wise, well, in Cathedral City, I'm assuming you're saying.
I'm trying
to give all my business to Cathedral City. I like to go to the new Thai restaurant. I find that very good. We have Trilusa, which is excellent. Trilusa is probably my favorite Italian food. And then you have Oceans, which is a very upscale seafood place. We have a lot of nice restaurants. And of course, if you want Mexican food, you can go on any corner practically and find it. So I love it all.
Anything you want to add, Viera?
No, I love all the restaurants in this area. We're big foodies, so we actually, enjoy all our evening outings and a great selection of restaurants here in the area. Right. And we were very excited actually to see that there was a great kind of like nightlife environment and bars and lounges, and yes, that's a wonderful part of being in this area.
So one last question for you before I forget about the Airbnb. Now that the city have changed its dynamics, will you do another Airbnb in Cathedral City, knowing that you can only do 28 days plus?
No, I don't think that we will, because like I said, that, not being able to do the short-term vacation rentals has definitely impacted us, and we will find a way because we love it here. Right. This is one of the homes that we will be retiring in because we own several Airbnbs. Like our vision is to spend time at different one of our Airbnbs, and we love it here. We love the area.
So your plan is when you retire, this will be the one to go to.
This will be one of the places, yes, that we spend some of our time at, for sure. Okay. So anyways, I think just finding, like I said, a different platform where we could still, monetize like our business and, in our home, and that's important for us. So we definitely are not going to be discouraged, and it's, like I said, it still has rented. We just need to find another modality to continue to do that and do 30-day rentals and beyond, and it's out there. Definitely the market's out there. We just have to, like, again, be creative with that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for doing this. I mean, I hope
Absolutely.
I was helpful to the audience and to, I know you guys have been for sure, sharing your experiences and your thoughts, and obviously the both of you are very different to where you come from. And I'm sorry that we missed James, he couldn't log on. But again, to everyone out there, our goal is to really bring awareness to this place called The Cove, even though Keith might not like, traffic, but I think it's just really something that to be considered, and to, if you're visiting, to take a look at it. As we mentioned earlier, it's more buck for the money, but it's also away from all the madness and away from all the noise, as I call it.
Oh,
Nothing against Palm Springs. I love you dearly, but I think the Cove is a great place to invest and a great place to explore in so many ways. And the city itself, like we talked about earlier, the restaurants and the closeness to everything. I mean, it's literally, you can go either east or west, and you're there within a matter of 10 to 15 minutes.
absolutely.
So that's what I love about it. Thank you both so much. Good luck
Sure.
with everything that you do. And to the audience, please enjoy yourself, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Nice meeting